Hello again, and welcome. This is episode 10b. This is a follow-up to spray painting your box, and this is the follow-up. I'm not going to waffle too much. So, it's been 2 days since I've spray painted the box, and this is what it's come out like. Now, even though it's been 2 days and it feels dry, you know, it isn't completely dry. It's not tacky, but the paint hasn't like cured or something like that. I don't know, but you know, the paint's a bit dodgy. And then I can see some mistakes I've made where there's this side. Now you see all these differences here and here. Right, when I came to, you can really see it there. There, look, you can see it really well there. Now, when I came to PVAing the whole box, I forgot to do that end. That's what that is. I forgot to PVA that end. I did that end twice. I remember I got confused when I was doing it and I couldn't tell which end I'd done. But I'm not too bothered about that because I'm going to have the, you know, the box art on there, so it doesn't matter. And then this one, this is okay, but again there's a few patches I've missed. But on this lid, you know, this is what I was saying. This is why I PVA'd the whole box, because you spray it and it all comes out looking the same. Whereas if you don't cover it in PVA, you get bits like this, and especially you get bits like this on this box, because if you don't do it, whenever you put a piece in, you'll get some splodges around the bottom where the PVA is splodged out, and it doesn't look very nice. So on the whole, this looks a lot better than they normally do. But what I'm going to do, right, this is going to be live, and you're going to see me learning on the spot. I will pause it when I need to because I don't want to make it too long. But now, this is what I find, right? I'm going to try and put this on, and I haven't done it yet. And I'm imagining this is going to be really tight because of the thickness of the paint and the tackiness of the paint and all that stuff I've explained about before. Because you saw before, it was quite a nice action. You know, it would go on and come off, but it would still be, it wasn't tight, but there was enough friction there that the lid wouldn't come off that easily. So, as you say, part of why I do it is like, so when you're transporting games or moving around, when they're all in weird positions, the lid stays on. That's why I do it, especially when you end up putting them on their sides. You know, if you put them on their sides in a bag and then they open, the bits go everywhere. I don't like that. So anyway, we're going to see how it feels, and it's quite likely that it's going to be already I can feel it's a lot tougher. Now I'm planning, and I'm pretty sure this is going to happen, but I'll see what happens. I'm planning on maybe sanding. The first thing I'll do is maybe sand the inside of the lid with a very, I'm going 240 grit here. This is a finer sandpaper than the other stuff because I don't want to rough it up too much. I just want to smooth it out. But what we'll see, I'll push this on, and I mean, it's going on fine. But what I'm worried about, and I'm worried about this especially since I'm not doing these little round cutouts that I haven't shown you in this series of videos, but in my sort of box mania, let's look at my, where I show you boxes I've made. I used to cut out a little bit so you get your fingers in. But what I'm worried about is pushing all the way down and then not being able to get it off. And that's tricky. So I've pushed it about halfway down, and I'll see what it's like with coming off. That comes off okay when it's halfway down, and I'm imagining it's going to scrape a few bits of paint off already. I can see a couple of places where it's scraping paint off because it's so tight. Now I'm not really worried about that. You know, I don't really care if a bit of paint comes off it really. You know, I'm more worried that I can get the lid off than whether I've scraped some paint off. That's still okay. I haven't gone all the way down. I went down a little bit further. And this is one of those things that you might have to do it a few times to start easing it up. You know, it's getting a bit tight there. It's a bit tough there. Like like on my Escape Curse of the Temple box, I had to do a lot of this. I think I probably put the lid on and off by varying degrees, you know, 50 times to loosen it up. So you can see already it's scraping bits of paint off here, and I'm not particularly worried about that. So, but what I am going to do, I'm going to get some of this fine sandpaper. I'm not so prepared because I haven't been doing this for like 2 days. It's been 48 hours at least. It's been 48 hours plus a few, so probably 50 hours or something since I've painted it. Now, what I'm going to do is where the paint's been coming off. Let's just, oh dear, that's taking loads of paint off. Loads of paint off. So I'm just going to go gently, and especially in these end bits where it's going over the you know, the thicker corners because of the masking tape and the fold over of the box wrap where I covered it. So I'm just going a little bit gentle, taking a little bit off, and sure, it makes it messy inside, but this is an issue that I've had with all my boxes, and I've never successfully solved it. The ultimate solution is to make the lid bigger and give myself more tolerance. But I don't want to go as big as a millimetre, because then it's going to be loose, and then measuring to ½ millimetres. Oh, I don't know. It's awkward. But maybe I'll straighten out. I've taken quite, you know, I've done some very light sanding. I've made a bit of a mess really in here. Can't really see it, can you? You know, yeah, you can maybe see bits in there. But anyway, I'm not really, you know, for all this, I'm being all this fussy and making it all nice and neat, and then I'll make it all mucky and don't care if it's a mess. It's a bit stupid, really. But I haven't worked out a good solution. This is a solution that's, I'll get there one day. Right, that's gone a little bit easier. I still haven't quite gone all the way. Look, I've gone down to about there. Haven't gone all the way. I'm wary of going all the way. Always wary of it. But what I'm going to do, rather than just go on and on without this, I'll just make sure that I can get this off. Now you see, it's when, you know, it's because the thing's so tight, the lid's on at a slight angle. That's when you get into difficulties. Now, I've almost pushed that all the way down now, and I'm having trouble getting it off, which is alright, you know. I'd sooner it's like this than loose, to be honest. But that's just me. You might think this is ridiculous, and you're probably right, it is ridiculous to be dicking around like this. Right, I'm going to turn the camera off, pause it, and I'm going to muck around with this, and I'll get back to you. Right, it's only about 10 seconds later. I haven't really done much, but you know, I've been I'll put that on and off a couple of times. Another thing I do is I turn the lid round to do it, because you never know which way you're going to put the lid on. So, and because there might be differences in your measurements, because there's discrepancies, it's always good to do it both ways round. I mean, one thing I know is that over time this will get easier. You see, the more you do this, the easier it gets. And there'll come a time, you know, for about the next week, it will still be a bit sticky, especially if you leave it, you know, like my escape box. If I leave that for a week or two, it's going to be quite hard to open because of the paint, and it will just be a little bit sticky. But Jesus, you don't want your box to sit around waiting 2 weeks for it to dry properly and cure. You know, maybe you want to do that, but. Look at that, that's terrible. There's loads of stuff coming off right there. Yeah, I didn't expect it to come off at the middle. I expected it to come off here. I'm surprised it's coming off at the middle. I don't really understand why. I imagine it must be because these are ever so bent, slightly bent inwards. That's the only thing I can think. And maybe they are. Anyway, let's pause the video because you don't want to watch all this rubbish. Well, I'll be doing that for a couple of minutes. I can feel it's getting easier. I still haven't gone all the way down. still this wearing. I mean, probably with things like this, the worst of it, I might just end up dotting with a black indelible pen. I'm not going to put more paint on it because that seems stupid. But if it's really bad, this is bad. This damage. This is more damage than I've done on other ones. You know, it's quite damaged and stuff in here. You know, so just to say, I'll probably cover that up with black pen. The fact it's damaged like that is probably because I made some mistakes, didn't I, when I was making the box, and I buggered up one bit when I was gluing the lid, and I realised I hadn't cut the base, and I buggered up stuff when I was using those stupid aluminium plates, which I'm not using anymore. So that's probably made maybe for part of this trashing. You know, it's kind of too accurate. Anyway, I'll come back to it. Right, just going to show you. I think that's kind of in shot. You know, I've just gone all the way in. Right, and I can't get it off very easily. You know, I could if I wiggle it, but you know, I might just for a few times. I might do this about 10 times. I'd have to pull it off. And you probably think, you're probably looking at this, if anyone's watching it, you're probably thinking, what a complete idiot. And in many ways, I am a complete fool. This is just ridiculous what I'm doing here. And I really need to find a better system. And maybe I will just, on my next box, because I'm learning all the time, maybe I will just add another millimetre, because this is too tight. It's too tight, and if I had another ½ millimetre onto the edge, then maybe that's perfect, do you know? But you see, the thing is, while this seems ridiculous at the moment, in 6 months, it won't seem so ridiculous. When it's all sort of shrunk and been opened and shut a few times. And, you know, I had to remember that with the Puerto Rico one. It wasn't as loose as it is now. But, you know, and I remember it was kind of okay. And over 6 months, it suddenly became really loose, and it became too loose. But you know, you're looking at this, I know, because I'm thinking it myself. This is just ridiculous what I'm doing. It's like, you know, it's like Mickey Mouse. It's like a Mickey Mouse job. What is he doing? Sorry, I'm just learning, as we all are. I'm just learning, so you've got to excuse my foibles and my quirky ways. But while that's there, while I've got that lid on, and I don't want to leave it on too long because of the tackiness it can stick. Let's just show you. That's what it's like in relation to the old box. It's about half. It's a little over half by the time I've cut that down. So, you know, more or less, I'm going to cut it down to half the size. And then you'll see, and once I take this off, I mean, you know, because I'm going to be taking this on and off for half an hour, loosening it up and mucking around. You know, this is ridiculous. Now you can see, because I've got that at an angle, this one's really hard to get out. But you know, all this stuff, this hardness of getting it in and out, it all just bends and squashes stuff, and it all finds a nice happy balance in the end. But it is a bit ridiculous. But let's see what it all looks like with all the bits in there. Right, it's like here. So, now then, look, see, I can put all the components in here. They're all the bits. Is this watching? Is it even recording? Yeah. So, they're all my bits, and as you remember, in this last bit here, I put the knob, I put this, I think that's the start player. I put those tokens in a cube. It's a bit random in there, which isn't really my style. But I put that in there. And then we have the Castillo down here. But I think I'm actually going to put it in here, and then it's up with the base bits, up with the base game. And then those bits that I talked about go in there. These crappy discs with the 2 bits of the Castillo. That every time I'm going to have to build that Castillo, which is annoying. But I don't know if you remember me talking about to have the Castillo fully made and fully built in the box, just, you know, adds so much height it becomes pointless making the box. And then all the tuck boxes. So you can see I've done a few things on these. So these are the base games. So I've just written what they're on there, power cards and region cards and stuff, because that's just the base thing. But the expansions, there's a sheet that comes with the game, you know, and it's an overview, and it's about, you know, it's got the setup, but it, you know, it's a list of the components and where all the expansions go in the big box. So I photocopied that sheet and I cut out the relevant bits. So here, King and Intrigue, and I put on the tuck box all the components that's in there. Now, I like doing this because not only does it say what's in the tuck box, it's saying what's in there. It just makes it easier to work out what is what. So, and then I worked out those meeples that I thought were spare meeples. They're not. They're actually in one of those expansions. And then the board. And then we got that. You know, and then, you know, the whole thing can shake about and everything's going to stay in the place, and I'll probably find out stuff's gone everywhere. That's the point in it. Now, after doing that, well, it's not after doing that, but you know, as I've been making this, I've realised that I could have probably, even though this is half the size of the big box, I reckon I could have knocked off another, at least a centimetre and a half. Because you can see, first of all, the limiting factors, right? These trays are only half full, so I could cut the top of those off. This Castillo that we were using as the standard thing, I could have just had it flat. And so I needn't have been limited to that. And then because of that, these cards, these 2 packs of cards especially, would have become the limiting height factor. But I could have put them in 2 tuck boxes. There's enough spare space around that I could have worked something out, and I reckon I could have taken that down another centimetre and a half. You know, I basically could have got this game down, I think, to you know, to that and the board. Yeah, you know, what's that? 1.5 centimetres, 2 centimetres. I could have knocked off that, and that would have been great in terms of my space saving, which is, at the end of the day, the space saving is my primary concern. But if I'd done that, I would have had real trouble getting these on the side. It's a difficult balance. It's a difficult balance between getting something that looks nice and means you've saved some space and all that kind of thing. Difficult balance. But at the end of the day, I think that looks alright. I think that's really nice. These add a nice look that when you open the box, it doesn't matter what it looks like when you're in a box, it doesn't really, does it? But when you do that and you see this, it's like nice and colourful, and it's like, oh, that's nice, and everything's accessible. It's reasonably well organised. An average box. You know, the waste of space is a bit, but standard size boxes, I'd sooner have standard size boxes and not be quite so efficient. You know, and that's starting to look pretty good. I'm not going to go all the way down yet on that because I need to do it. I need to do that for a while. That is a bit weird, that bit, but hopefully we'll cover that up. So that's it. That's the end. This has probably gone on 20 minutes, almost half an hour, and it should have only taken 10. But I'm just showing you I can't get the videos any shorter without scripting them. They're long. I'm waffly. Sorry. So I'll see you next time, right? And then we've only got one more video to do after this, I think. 2 more. I'll do one more where I'll cut out the bits of the main box and stick them on. That's going to be a long video. And then I'll do a little summing up. And then that's it. You've built a game box. Only taking you 2 weeks. See you later.